Alright, today we're going to start off a new series. It's going to be once per month. It's called Limited Options. And I decided we're going to take over on deck design. I didn't really like the old Viserai deck profile because it didn't fit what this series means. So we're redoing Viserai deck tech. Looking forward to it. Alright, we're going to get started with the hero and equipment. We have access to Viserai Runeblood, which is going to be very useful for triggering creating rune chance because it puts pressure on the opponent in the following turn. While at the same time we don't have to devote a lot of resources to trying to put off multiple attacks. We can attack a decent amount of times while keeping our guard up. And off to the next card. Reaping Blade is definitely going to help with that too as well, because it only costs a single resource. Plus, the opponent cannot gain more life if they have the highest life total. This is good against Guardian or anything that wants to gain more life. And next, we have access to the Crown of Decktautomy, which allows us to recover Runeblade, attack action, non-attack action card, put it back on our deck, and it has access to Arcane Barrier, which is good. And anyway, we got access to one of two options. Now, we have access to Mage Master Boots, which can combo with the various cards. Let's say Runeblood Barrier to give it a go again if we want to use it as an offensive tool, stuff like that. Or another boot option is in case we run into more Runeblade decks or arcane wizard stuff, or any potential future deck that's going to start using arcane damage. Definitely helpful right there. Would be a Arknight deck without the Grasp of the Arknight. Good for creating rune chance early on, and can block some damage. But not only that, we do have the Blood Chief Skeleton. This is good. It has instant ability, which means it doesn't require any action points. And it does have temper. Can be blocked once, but we do want to be careful against Guardian players because they can pop this if they get the right crush card off. They can definitely get rid of this. We don't pay attention to our surroundings. But anyway, let's move on to the attack section. Alright, we're going to move on with the one cost attack actions. We're going to get started with 3 copies of Consuming Volition. If you have dealt or deal arcane damage this turn, Consuming Volition gains. If this hits, discard a card. This is forcing an opponent to do something about it. They're either going to block with something out of their hand, or they're going to take it and still lose it. Definitely got them thinking about this. But not only that, we have access to even more of it. The yellow hitch cost version. Attacking for free, same thing. And we do have a single copy of the blue one. Well, for starters, I tried to, while I was adding the deck on FabDB, I put up a free reduced to rune chance, the defense reaction card, and unfortunately my inventory has only 2 reds, so you could definitely swap this out for having the full free copies of reduced to rune chance, or you can just throw this in. It's all depending on whether or not you want more defense, but this definitely forces an opponent, or it could be pitched for free resources, which is why I added it in. But it's good. Now on to this 2 cost resource attacks. Alright, let's get started with the 2 cost almighty Command and Conquer. We know why this is good. because people like to stack their decks with 4 defense reaction cards, and if it hits, destroy the arsenal, limiting their options. This is even deadly with the pummel in our list. We only run 3 red versions, but this is good. And on to the next card that I think is highly underrated is 3 copies of Spellblade Assault. Now, they may cost 2, but here's the thing. This does not have to hit to create 2 rune chant tokens. For example, we can just pitch some resources like a yellow or above and get our attack in, create some rune chants, and depending on how much pressure our opponent put on us, depends, do we want to defend with 2 cards next turn or 1 card? So I'd be like, hopefully I can get a pump spell like Come to Fight onto this as well, forcing a very difficult situation, because then Viserai Rune Blood triggers, creating free retrans. So the next turn, you're adding free damage on top of what you're already doing while keeping your guard up, depending on how much pressure they put on to you. They're going to have to do something about this. And now, we're going to go into the 3 copies of the yellow version. Spellblade Assault. Same thing, just free damage, and if we can buff it, we Come to Fight. It could either be, 5 or 6, because I do run the yellow and the red Come to Fight cards. And why do I play those over Oath of the Arknight? Well, for starters, Oath of the Arknight costs 2, and then you're just getting a rune chant. And sometimes you just want to be as efficient as possible, which is why I run the 1 cost Come to Fight. And sure, there might be slogism, but you can't always get slogism off. So Come to Fight is definitely going to be better, and we'll be definitely talking about it as we come down, but we're going to be going on to what the free cost and higher. I do play Arknight Ascendancy, but anyway, on to the free cost section. Alright, we're moving on to the free cost and higher attack sections. We're going to get started with free Amplify the Arknight. This is very good, even when it's free, or even when you have to pitch some resources and have some rune chants out, because 6 attack means they're always going to have to have 2 cards out of their hand, whether it's an unmove plus the resource to pay for it, or in certain circumstances they're down to 1 life and they have multiple 2 defense cards, so that's potentially free cards, which means they're not going to be able to put a meaningful attack back on you. But there's definitely that. And while I was editing this video, I seen the price of Command and Conquer go down to $80 as opposed to $100. I said that's only $10 more than what I paid for the 2 others. So I went ahead and bought it. Now you can run Dread Turpage as a sub-in. It's a singleton, or you could just put in the third Command and Conquer. But this is good for creating rune chants in circumstances. And it certainly wouldn't be a Viserai deck if you don't have Arknight Ascendancy. What's not to like about it? It hits like a freight train. If Arknight Ascendancy hits, creates X rune chant tokens, and it already has Dominate. So that's very good, especially if you follow this up with Come to Fight. Whether it's the yellow or the red one, you're putting 7 or 8 damage on the board. Put them in a real difficult situation. But anyway, we're going to move on to the non-attack actions. We'll get started with the Rune Blade section, then move on to the generic section. Anyway. Alright, we're going to talk about the Rune Blade non-attack action cards, and we're going to always get started with Rattle Bones. It wouldn't be a deck without Rattle Bones, especially Arcanite Ascendancy. Being able to get this instant after you attack with an Arcanite Ascendancy while popping off those rune chants and they get through, they're going to be in for a hurt because we can bring back the Arcanite Ascendancy that's already going to be discounted simply because if they didn't block well enough, well, they're going to be in for a world of hurt because those rune chants are going to, that the Arcanite Ascendancy made, are going to be used to discount it. And even if they do block some of it, if you do have an energy potion out that you played from the previous turn, that can help with this combo as well. But now we're gonna move on to become the Arc Knight. This is versatile simply because it's filtering tutor. Yes, you gotta get rid of some stuff, but this is only gonna get powerful in the future. It's simply because, depending on what cards you get, this can be used. For example, if you got Arcanite Ascendancy in hand, but you want Rattle Bones to follow it up, go get yourself a Rattle Bones by pitching an attack action card. Or you got Rattle Bones in hand and you want Arcanite Ascendancy, pitch a non-attack action card to go find Arcanite Ascendancy. It's good. It's only going to get better too. Especially this card. As time moves on, Mordred Tide will get better because it creates that many rune chants +1 and go again. I love this card because it applies pressure no matter what turn it is. It is good. But also, I've decided to add in Mauvrin Skies. Now this can be good with Spellblade Assault because the next attack card you get this turn gains Go Again, and if this hits, create 3 rune chant tokens in conjunction. If you play this, then Spellblade Assault, and it hits, Spellblade Assault will be 2, Viserai Trigger 3, and if this hits, 6 rune chants, potentially setting up for the next flying turn. Hopefully an Arcanite Ascendancy into Rattle Bones. What's not to like about that? Same thing here, we want some redundancy. We want to put pressure on the following turn while being able to keep our guard up. It's good. And for some defensive power, we definitely run the Rune Blood Barrier. This is offense and defense, depending on the situation. Bit hefty in cost, but it forces the opponent to attack into. It's also a very good setup card. It's very good, especially if you use Mage Master Boots as an offensive tool. Now we got 2 copies of Reduce the Rune Chant Red. Creates a rune chant and it blocks for 4. It's good. And it gets discounted if you got rune chants. Then we went with 3 copies of Reduce the Rune Chant Yellow. Blocks for free. That's a good number too. Most of the time, not always, but it does work. Creates rune chants. And now we're gonna move into the generics. Some more defense reaction. This will round out the defense specific cards. We got 2 sync belows, good for filtering and defense at the same time. What's not to like about that? Now, like I said before, I got 2 copies of Energy Potion, instant speed, which means it could be done any turn. That's good. It's a good setup card as well. Yep. Not only that, we get a single copy of Time Snap Potion to round out those energy potions as potions. Action, destroy Time Snap, gain 2 action points. So you on +1 because you use an action to activate it. But that could be good in circumstances. We got a single copy of the Yellow Pommel. This is good with the vast majority of our cards other than Consuming Volition for putting a hurt on the opponent and put them into a very difficult situation. If it hits, they gotta discard a card. Oh man, that does hurt. And of course, we got 3 red pommels, which is gonna put a much more bigger buff Oh man. Imagine a 9 attack, Arcanine Ascendancy. That's definitely gonna hurt. With Dominate. You're forcing them to block with one card, and they're gonna have to discard another card. So if they go for an unmove, it's still gonna hurt them because they're gonna discard for pitch, plus the unmove itself. Ooh, man. You might be blocking most of the damage, but man, that's nasty. But now I run Come to Fight. Now the reason why I run Come to Fight is simply because look at the cost in the upper right corner. 1. Just to get a +3. Now you might be saying, why not run over the Arcanine? Cost 1 more because we want to improve the consistency of deck from turn to turn. By reducing the cost, you're more likely to always be able to get this off much more often than over the Arcanine or even a Sluggism for that matter. Which is why we also run the yellow pitch versions as well. +2. Yeah, Come to Fight is very good in this deck. And it does work. It's consistent no matter what situation your opponent has put you through. It will do work. And not only that, free defense on them. That's good too, but we're going to move on to the overall of the deck. Why I built it this way, but anyway, let's get to it. Alright, we're going to go for the general overall, but I might as well show you the sideboard first. For starters, we got Fate Foreseen. I wanted a bit more defense in certain matchups, depending on who you're facing with. And I did follow and watch that Red Zone Rogue, the Oblivion deck tech that Red Zone Rogue did. This sideboard does transform somewhat into the Oblivion deck tech that Red Zone Rogue did. But anyway, 3 copies of Fate Foreseen for additional defense depending on the matchup. And now, gotta give some respect to the Arcane side as well. Specifically Wizard or whatever future class decides, or heck, it wouldn't surprise me if I started seeing arcane spells being introduced to Runeblade class, for example, similar to how Wizard can do it. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. So the Arena's Prayer, I've been told they don't like it when they go for the big kill turn when someone plays this. It's instant too, so it doesn't involve any action as well, so it's very good. All the top, even if it's free, you're preventing free damage. But if it's a red, you're preventing 5, which Wizard's not gonna like that, for that matter. And I decided to add 3 cards of Unmovable. Blue pitch. I mean, the defense is good enough, and even if you don't play it from the arsenal, it's a blue pitch too as well. So Unmovable is only good in circumstances. There's a time for it, but I might as well put a blue pitch in there to increase our attack resources. And of course, I do play the Knife Blade Blood Oath for the controlling side out of the sideboard. If we want to, build up our rune chance, then go for the big attack, whether it's Knife Blade, the Blood Oath, or into Arcanine Ascendancy, into Rattlebones for that matter. This is just another way, if you're playing the slow rogue game, that's similar to the game plan that Red Zone Rogue did. This will definitely help transform into that. And of course, Snag can come in for specific matchups, but I'm more likely going to swap out probably the yellow Come to Fight card for this. Simply because certain decks you can hose them real good with this card. think one example would be warrior, or any other class in the future that loves using combat tricks. Snag will definitely hurt them, no doubt about that. But anyway, we're gonna move on to the general overall view of this deck and game plan. Alright, the reason why I created this deck is simply because I recognize that as time goes on, you have to assess the situation. And I like to be able to buff my attacks from time to time, but I also recognize when to go for attack and defend well enough, then do it again. Uh, these matches can be like the sea. It can be calm at times, but next thing you know, tidal wave's coming. I gotta react to that. But that's why I play cards such as Spellblade Assault and Malvern Skies, because I want to force the opponent to not try to set up for a big turn. Certain decks, like for example Guardian, in some cases of Runeblade, like the Red Zone Rogue deck tech that he did in 2020 for Oblivion deck tech, I believe. He likes to grind it out and launch big attacks. I recognize you gotta put pressure on that guy, make him think about it. But also, there's other decks that can set up. Warrior can be set up heavy too as well. It can be a defensive deck as well. But not only that, why I play Spellblade Assault and Malvern Skies, not a whole lot of decks see it. Well, it puts a decent amount of damage, but it also sets up the current turn if you're going for a multi-attack, or it sets up the following turn, which is not bad either, because depending on the version, if you played a non-attack action, you're putting free rune chance into play, which, because of Viserai and Spellblade Assault, doesn't have to hit. That affects the following turn. You can be more defensive, or you can really put your boot down on their throat. You're gonna be like, "Time to put das boot on throat," and keep it there. Stuff like that. Or you draw a hand that has a lot of defense. You can still launch an attack, but being defensive is not bad either, especially if it's stacked. And hopefully they don't play Command and Conquer when you draw into a handful of hand reactions. I mean defensive reactions. But that's why I like this deck. But also the sideboard. Now there are times when it calls to be a defensive deck. A grindy control matchup that doesn't want to launch multiple attacks, but rather wants to grind the opponent down because they have consistency issues, which is a good thing too. I mean, you got to like it, the sideboard, because I can play an aggressive game, a mid-range game with the sideboard, and that's good too. I mean, this deck is versatile, and I'm sure I'll update it as time goes on, but I'm looking forward to what 2021 has in store for us. Currently, I've been told right now that the vast majority of trucks are being held up transporting vaccines in America. And I was told by my local store owner, Donnie, from Critical Games and Hobbies. They got a Facebook page and a website, criticalgamesandhobbies.com. But right now, he told me they have a crap ton of flesh and blood booster boxes that they can't ship because government order says essential stuff like food and vaccines are allowed for the we're talking like, it sounds like 60 or even 70% of our trucks are being used. probably 60-40, 60 with vaccines, 40% working overtime so we can get food in our belly, whether that's a big old juicy steak or a hamburger. That's some good stuff right there. Or if we're gonna have matter, I do like me some twisted tea. It actually tastes good. I'm not gonna lie, despite it being a can of whooping. But as always, I'd like to remind you, enjoy the grind. You're either gonna be drinking twisted tea if you got nothing else to do on the road, or grab some lemonade. But anyway, enjoy the grind. I'm also out with Rimrose Game.